Hello everyone. My name is Dolby Oswal and today I will be teaching you international trade law. But in today's lecture, my aim is to describe you the course and make you understand the aim that this course plans to achieve. Let me start with the description of this course. Trade or the acts of exchange that are the core of political society has scarcely been limited by the frontier of political communities. Trade across the societies in whichever political form, including the most recent, the national state, has a very long historical trajectory. And likewise, do the rules that have managed this exchange, international trade law, in that sense, is therefore a discipline of considerable antiquity. And yet, most lawyers think of it, particularly in India, as a new area of work. This can be attributed for two reasons. First, the fact that international trade regime at the end of the Second World War underwent a radical change, and thereafter in 1995 a further change with the coming into being of the World Trade Organization. Owing to these changes, the law that governed international trade became the international law. So international law governs the international trade now. Now second, in this international legal order, one that is often called the multilateral rule-based trading regime. India has only recently become part of a very active player here. There has been a significant increase in the number of Indian legal professionals who now practice this area, and accordingly the subject that has assumed considerable importance in law school curriculum. The international trade law that we will be studying through this course is the law of World Trade Organization, which is WTO, made up of series of international agreements. We could also call them as treaties. So this treaties begin from General Agreement of Tariff and Trade, which is also known as GATT. So GATT that predates the organization by nearly half a century, but we study this law at an interesting moment in the world politics. The WTO, symbolic of the multilateral trade regime, today faces a serious crisis of existence. Threatened by the action of the most powerful trading nations, and I'm pretty sure you guys understand what do I mean by the US and Korea and China. These all are affecting this WTO on a large basis. So with this course then, we will allow us to see the opportunity to reflect critically on the making and the possible unmaking of this legal regime. Its usefulness in a world where globalization is now a bad word, and its contribution to have made the world a better or a worse place. Now let's understand what's the course aim here. So what this course aims is to introduce you to the overall architecture of international trade law, and will equip you with the essential principle rules that determines how states formulate laws that affect international trade. But the course is capable of doing much more than this. It is an essential building block of an intellectual adelaide that is called law and globalization. This course will therefore hope to inspire you to think about globalization, perhaps critically or perhaps with optimism. The role that legal rules play is in shaping this globalization, the movement of capital, of goods, of people. It could therefore serve as a stepping stone towards studying the international economy. Equally, the course may be of use by helping you think about a career in international practice and by offering you a sneak peek into both the practice of international legal doctrine at institutions like WTO and into the world of trade policy making. I would also like to tell you that WTO and UN and all of these have started introducing so many internships right now, and these are so much beneficial for the students right now, and people are applying and they are getting into UN and they are having so much success with this. It's a very good opportunity, and I think students should apply for it and gain that international exposure there. So now coming back to international trade law. So I just said about economic globalization, international trade, so many terms has been thrown right now. So let's understand economic globalization and international trade then, right? So economic globalization has been a very popular buzzword for more than 2 decades now. Politicians, government, official, businessmen, lawyers, economics, everyone use the word economic globalization. So with this, we discuss 2 concepts here. The concept of economic globalization and the emergence of global economy, and second, whether the economic globalizations, the emergence of global economy and in particular international trade are a blessing or a curse. And third is, what are the arguments for free trade and the arguments for restrictions of trade, and whether international trade can be of benefit at all. So here we are discussing few things. It's international trade law, globalization, it's a good or a bad thing. What are the arguments for free trade? Is there has to be a restriction on trade? And can we even benefit from this globalization, international trade, especially in an era where, India is introducing, Make in India, and, we have our Prime Minister talking about how we should, stop getting products from outside and we should produce and import and manufacture, especially in India. How is it important? We're going to discuss it from that perspective. First, let's start with emergence of global economy. I think that's very important. How does this global economy come into be? How was this emerged? So let's say over the past 2 decades, as a result of the process of economic globalization, a global economy has been emerging. Gradually, but at a very increasing speed. It has replaced the patchwork of national economies. Here we discuss 2 things. The concept of economic globalization. The first is driving economic globalization and creating the global economy. So let's start with the concept of economic globalization. The concept of globalization, and in particular economic globalization, have been used by many to describe one of the defining features of the world in which we live. But what do we do with these terms? Like, what do these mean? So I think it will be better for me to explain it from the economics perspective. How different economics sees economic globalization, what are their definitions to it. So let's start with Joseph Stiglitz. So Joseph Stiglitz, he's a former chief economist of the World Bank, and he is also a winner of Nobel Prize for Economics in 2001. He has written this book, Globalization and Its Discontents. And in this book, he has explained globalization as, he says that it's the closer integration of countries and people of the world which has been brought about the enormous reductions of cost of transportations and communication. The breaking down of artificial barriers to flow of goods, service, capital, knowledge, and to a very lesser extent, people across border. In the Lexis and the Olive Tree, Understanding of a Globalization, this writer Thomas Friedman, he is also an award-winning journalist in New York Times, defined globalization as follows. He says that it is an inexorable integration of markets, nation-states and technologies to a degree never witnessed before. In a way that is enabling individuals, corporations and nation-states to reach around the world farther, faster, deeper and cheaper than ever before. And in a way that is enabling the world to reach into individuals, corporations and national states farther, faster, cheaper than ever before we have ever seen in this. So economic globalization is a multifaceted phenomenon. Its essence, however, is a gradual integration of national economies into one borderless global economy. It encompasses both international trade and foreign direct investment. Unrestricted foreign direct investment, to be very clear on this. So economic globalizations affect people everywhere in many aspects of their daily lives. It affects your job, their food, their health, their education, and their leisure time. Let's take an example here. How is our food affected by globalization? Today, in Indore and in many other cities and around the world, around India, around India, there are cities where products are imported, okay, and now we started having these stores where these products are introduced and we are like these urban area where you can buy products good products at good rates and everything. And these are how these globalization is affecting us right now. We have now these all of these mobile phones that we have been introduced. Most of our mobile phones are not usually made in India. They are a lot of manufacturing happens in India, but these things go to China. They are all compiled and then they're sent back to India, and they are named as made in India only. So these things are coming from there and we are seeing this, right?